Why is my father in your portrait?
Why is my father in your portrait? The words cut through the ballroom like shattered glass. Every guest froze mid-laugh, champagne trembling in crystal flutes. The billionaire's grin faltered, color draining from his face as the young waitress stood motionless, finger pointed toward the grand oil painting behind him. The man in that portrait, her father, had been dead for 20 years. Crystal chandeliers glimmered above the ballroom like captured stars, spilling light over tuxedos, sequins, and laughter sharpened by champagne. The air smelled of roses and old money. At the far end, the Hale Foundation's golden logo shimmered across a silk banner, "Building Tomorrow." It felt ironic to Lily Hart, who was barely surviving today. She moved carefully between the tables, tray balanced, smile rehearsed. Her shoes pinched, her shoulders ached, but she had mastered the art of invisibility. People like Victor Hale never looked down. They floated in their own gravity. Tonight, he was at the center of it. His silver hair slicked back, his voice commanding, his charisma intoxicating. Cameras adored him. Investors drank his words like gospel. "Another bottle of 92, he called out, raising his glass toward the waitstaff. His tone carried the weight of expectation, not request. Lily hurried forward, heart racing. Her hand trembled slightly as she reached for the crystal bottle. The cork popped too fast. Wine cascaded over the rim, a dark ribbon splashing across the billionaire's pristine white jacket. Gasps, silence, then laughter, low at first, then roaring. Victor Hale looked down at his soaked sleeve, then at Lily, eyes cold as glass. "Well," he said dryly, "it seems even our servers are trying to give me a taste of humility." The crowd erupted again. Someone clapped. Another guest muttered, "Poor thing." Lily's cheeks burned. I'm so sorry, sir." He waved dismissively. "Sorry doesn't clean my suit, sweetheart. Try paying attention next time." His smirk landed like a slap. Her supervisor rushed in, whispering apologies, blotting the stain with a napkin. Lily's hands shook, but she stayed rooted, staring at Victor Hale's laughter, rich, cruel, effortless. He thrived on power, even in humiliation. Especially in humiliation. "Come now," he said, gesturing toward the portrait behind him. "You see that? My mentor, Thomas Hale, my father, he taught me composure. Imagine what he'd say if he saw this mess." The guests chuckled again, following his gaze, and that's when Lily turned too. For a second, she thought the wine had gone to her head. The world narrowed, every sound fading into a high, distant ring. The portrait wasn't of Thomas Hale, not only him. Standing beside the older man was another figure, younger, smiling, his eyes soft but unmistakably familiar. Her breath caught, her throat closed. The tray slipped from her fingers and crashed against the marble floor. Red splattered across the tiles like fresh blood. The laughter stopped instantly. Lily stepped forward, trembling. "That photo," she whispered, pointing. "That man next to your father." Victor's brow furrowed, irritation returning. "Miss, you've done enough damage for one night. Step back." But she couldn't. Her heart was pounding in her ears, louder than his words, louder than the murmurs spreading through the crowd. Her voice broke the silence, fragile yet unshakable. "Why?" she stammered, finger trembling toward the portrait. "Why's my father in your painting?" Gasps rippled through the room. Dozens of eyes turned from her to Victor Hale, then to the portrait again. The billionaire's expression hardened, his confident smile cracking just slightly. "What did you say?" he asked quietly, his voice lower now, almost dangerous. Lily's lips parted, tears filling her eyes. "My father, Thomas Hart, he died 20 years ago. Why is he standing next to you?" For a heartbeat, no one moved. The ballroom froze, only the chandeliers swaying faintly, crystals clinking in the silence. Victor's color drained, his laugh gone. He glanced toward his security team, then back to her. "You're mistaken," he said tightly. "I don't know who you think you see, but that's absurd." But his hand gripping the edge of his glass trembled. Lily saw it, and so did everyone else. If this story has already touched your heart, tell us in the comments from which city you're watching and leave your like to keep following us. The silence in the ballroom stretched, thin and trembling. Victor Hale stood motionless, his hand still hovering near his glass. Around him, the sea of faces waited for his next move. He was the kind of man who always had a line, a joke, a perfectly timed smile. But this time nothing came. "Miss," he said finally, his tone clipped. "You're mistaken." Lily didn't move. Her voice, soft but steady, cut through the heavy air. "No, I'm not." Her supervisor tugged at her sleeve, whispering frantically, "Lily, please, stop talking. You're going to lose your job." But she couldn't look away from the portrait. The man beside Victor's father, Thomas Hart, wasn't just familiar. It was him. The gentle curve of his jaw, the same grey-blue eyes she'd seen in photographs since childhood, the same warmth in his smile. The father who died in an industrial fire when she was 6. Victor cleared his throat and forced a shallow laugh. "Ladies and gentlemen, it seems our staff is mistaking old photographs for fairy tales." He turned toward her, eyes narrowing. "Miss Hart, was it? My father had hundreds of associates. I assure you, whoever you think you see is not who you think he is." A few guests chuckled nervously, unsure whether to laugh or leave. Lily's stomach turned. She could hear whispers ripple through the room. Did she say father? Is she serious? Was that planned? Victor snapped his fingers toward security. "Escort her out. She's clearly overwhelmed." The guards approached, but Lily stepped back, voice trembling. "No, wait. My father worked at a plant owned by your company. He died in the fire at Ether Labs. That's how I remember you. I saw you at the funeral." Victor's jaw tightened, but he masked it with another cold smile. "I think you've had too much to drink, Miss Hart. Please, let's not ruin a pleasant evening with delusions." He turned to his guests. "Apologies, everyone. I suppose even a charity event isn't immune to drama." The laughter returned, uneasy, forced. Lily felt heat rise behind her eyes, humiliation slicing deeper than any insult. The guards guided her toward the service door, and she let them, her breath shaky, her heart a knot of anger and disbelief. But just before crossing the threshold, she looked back once more. Victor was laughing again, his hand resting on the shoulder of a senator. Yet his eyes, those steel-grey eyes, flickered toward the portrait, then away, as if the image itself had teeth. He was hiding something. She felt it in her bones. Outside the ballroom, the air was cooler, quieter. The sound of her own breathing echoed down the corridor. She leaned against the wall, pressing a hand to her chest. The polished facade of the Hale Tower seemed to hum around her, its marble and glass whispering secrets. "Thomas Hart," she whispered to herself, "how do you end up on a billionaire's wall?" The night shift manager approached, red-faced, his tone clipped but not cruel. "Go home, Lily. I'll smooth things over. You'll get your pay, but you won't be on staff next week. I'm sorry." She nodded numbly. "Yeah, me too." He left her in the hallway, the sound of the gala resuming behind the door. Music, laughter, life moving on as if nothing had happened. Lily walked toward the elevator, her reflection fractured in the mirrored walls. When the doors closed, she finally let out the breath she'd been holding. The mask cracked. Anger replaced humiliation. If Victor Hale thought she would vanish quietly, he was wrong. She would find out why her father's face hung in that room, beside the man who destroyed him. As the elevator descended, she pulled out her phone and searched for the one name her mother had always told her to forget: Ether Laboratories. The results flooded the screen. Explosion in 2003 kills 5 employees, cause undetermined. Facility owned by Hale Industries. Her father's name was the first on the list. The second was Victor Hale's, listed not as a victim, but as lead partner. Lily's reflection stared back at her in the glass panel of the elevator, pale, shaken, but burning with something fierce. Whatever this man had buried 20 years ago was about to surface. The city outside was a blur of rain and neon. Lily stepped out of Hale Tower with her jacket pulled tight, the night wind slicing through her thin uniform. The laughter from the ballroom still echoed in her mind, mocking, unreal. Her father's face in that portrait refused to leave her thoughts. She couldn't decide what burned more, humiliation or disbelief. She caught the last bus toward Queens, sinking into a seat by the fogged window. The rhythm of the city passed by in flashes, billboards, taxi lights, reflections of people who would never know her name. She pressed her phone against her knee, scrolling again through the article about the Ether fire. 5 dead, no survivors, no suspects. The details were vague, sanitized. Just another corporate tragedy. Her father's name, Thomas Hart, was listed near the bottom. She stared at it until the letters blurred. Beneath, a small paragraph mentioned industrial negligence and prototype failure. It said the cause was never confirmed. She remembered her mother's silence whenever that night came up, how she'd said, "Your father was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Let it rest." But how could it rest now? His face was smiling from the wall of a man who mocked her for existing. When Lily reached her stop, the streets were half flooded. The corner market was closing. She crossed under a flickering street lamp and climbed the narrow stairs to her apartment. Inside, the air smelled faintly of disinfectant and chamomile tea. "Mom?" she called softly. A weak voice answered from the couch. "You're late again, sweetheart." Linda Hart lay there, her hair silvering, her body frail from years of breathing factory dust and broken promises. An oxygen tube looped around her face. Lily knelt beside her, forcing a smile. "Big night, fancy people, bad wine." Her mother smiled faintly. "You always were your father's daughter, couldn't stand fake people." Lily hesitated, brushing a damp strand of hair from her mother's forehead. "Mom, can I ask you something?" Linda's eyes fluttered open, wary. "Of course. Did Dad ever work with Victor Hale?" The silence that followed was heavy. Linda's hand froze halfway to the teacup. "Why are you asking that?" Lily swallowed. "Because I saw his picture tonight, in Hale's office. They were standing together like partners, but you told me Dad was just an engineer." Linda's face went pale, her voice barely a whisper. "That can't be. That picture doesn't exist." "It does," Lily insisted. "And Hale saw it too. He looked terrified." Linda shook her head, tears glinting in her eyes. "No, Lily, you don't understand. Your father, he worked on something, a project called Ether. He believed it could change everything. But Hale, he wanted to own it. When your father refused, the fire happened." Lily's heart pounded. "You think he caused it?" Her mother's voice trembled. "I think he made sure your father never spoke again." A distant siren wailed outside. Lily sat back, numb. Her father wasn't a victim of an accident. He was silenced. Linda reached for her daughter's hand, gripping it tightly. "Promise me you won't go after him. Victor Hale destroys everything he touches." But Lily's voice was already firm. "Then maybe it's time someone destroyed him." Her mother's eyes widened. "Lily, please." But she was already on her feet, pacing toward the small wooden dresser in the corner. Inside, tucked beneath old letters and unpaid bills, she found a worn photograph. Her father, younger, smiling beside a man in a dark suit, Victor Hale. It was the same image from the portrait. On the back, written in her father's handwriting, were 2 words, Project Ether. The room seemed to tilt. She looked at her mother, tears streaming down her face. "You knew," Lily whispered. "I tried to forget," Linda said, voice breaking. "It was safer that way." Lily stared at the photo, the smiling men frozen in time, the promise of something brilliant, and the shadow of betrayal behind it. She closed her eyes and whispered, "Then I'll find the truth, Mom, for both of us." Outside, thunder rumbled over the city, rattling the window panes. The storm had begun. Rain lashed against the window when the knock came. 3 short raps, steady, confident. Lily froze. It was barely dawn, the streets outside still grey with sleep. Her mother stirred on the couch. "Who is it?" Lily didn't answer. She crossed the small living room, each creak of the floorboards sounding louder than it should. Through the peephole, she saw a man in a black suit standing in the hallway. Behind him, a sleek black sedan idled at the curb, its tinted windows glistening with rain. "Miss Hart?" the man asked, his tone calm but firm. "Mr. Hale requests your presence at his office this morning. He said it's urgent." Lily's heart thudded. "Why would he want to see me?" "I'm not authorized to discuss details," the man replied, his expression unreadable. "But he insisted it concerns your father." Behind her, Linda sat up weakly. alarm flashing in her tired eyes. "Lily, don't go, please. If he wants something from you, it's not good." But curiosity was stronger than fear now. Hale's lie, the portrait, her father's handwriting, everything led back to that man. "I have to know," Lily said softly. "If he knows what happened to Dad, I need to hear it." The driver opened the car door. Lily hesitated, then turned to her mother and kissed her forehead. "I'll be back soon, okay?" Linda's voice trembled. "You're walking into the lion's den." Then it's time the lion met someone who isn't afraid anymore. The ride to Hale Tower was silent. The city blurred past, wet and colorless. Lily kept her eyes on her reflection in the window, pale skin, red-rimmed eyes, determination burning beneath exhaustion. Whatever awaited her, she wouldn't turn back. When the car stopped, the lobby guards didn't even ask her name. They were expecting her. A woman in a grey suit met her at the elevator. "Mr. Hale will see you privately," she said, voice clipped and professional. The elevator ride felt endless. Soft jazz hummed through hidden speakers, mocking her pulse. When the doors opened, she stepped into the top floor, an office that smelled like power and guilt. Mahogany floors gleamed beneath panoramic glass walls. Victor Hale stood by the window, looking out over the skyline like a man who owned the horizon. Sunlight cut through the clouds, turning his reflection into a ghostly double. "I wasn't sure you'd come," he said without turning. "You didn't really give me a choice," Lily replied. He faced her slowly, his expression unreadable. "You look so much like him," he murmured. "Don't," she warned. "Don't talk about my father like you cared about him." Victor exhaled. "I did care about him, more than you'll ever know. But he made dangerous choices. He didn't understand what we were trying to build." "Lies," Lily snapped. "My mother told me everything. You stole his research. You destroyed his life." For the first time, the confident mask slipped. A muscle in Victor's jaw twitched. He turned back toward the window, his voice lower. "You think you know the truth, but you've only heard half of it. Your father was brilliant, but reckless. He wanted to expose classified work that could have brought nations to war. I saved what I could." "You mean you saved yourself?" Lily said bitterly. Victor's tone hardened. "Be careful, Miss Hart. I have no patience for accusations from people who don't understand the cost of power." Lily took a shaky step closer. "Then explain the portrait. Explain why my father is standing beside you in that picture, like you were partners." He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he walked to his desk, opened a drawer, and retrieved a folder. He placed it on the table between them. Inside were pages of technical drawings, chemical formulas, and a logo she recognized from the photograph's back. "Ether. Your father and I built this together," Victor said quietly. "A source of clean, endless energy. But the world doesn't want clean power, it wants control. Governments, corporations, all of them wanted ether for the wrong reasons. When your father tried to go public, I stopped him. It was the only way to protect what we'd created." Lily's voice broke. "You call killing him protection?" Victor's eyes flickered. Pain or guilt, she couldn't tell. "He wasn't supposed to die," he whispered. Silence filled the room. The skyline outside reflected on the glass like fire. Lily stepped back, her throat tight. "You think you can rewrite history with excuses, but you can't bury the truth forever." Victor's voice trembled as he whispered, "The truth can destroy you. Then I guess we'll find out who it destroys first." The air between them was electric, charged with something darker than fear. Victor's hand rested on the folder like a confession he refused to sign. Lily's pulse hammered. The rain outside streaked the glass, blurring the skyline into silver scars. "I don't believe you," she said. "My father wasn't reckless. He was honest. That's what scared you." Victor's voice hardened. "You're repeating your mother's story, but you weren't there, were you? You didn't see what ether could do." Lily clenched her fists. "Then show me." For a moment, he looked at her as if tempted to tell the truth. Then, he simply closed the folder. "No." Her anger flared. "You think you can hide behind your money and power forever, but the world isn't blind anymore." He gave a dry laugh. "The world is always blind, Miss Hart, especially to what it doesn't want to see." When she turned to leave, he called after her, softer this time. "Don't go digging where you shouldn't. You'll only find ghosts." "I already have," she said, and walked out. The elevator doors closed on his reflection. cold, fractured, haunted. Back on the ground floor, Lily's thoughts were a storm. She replayed every word, every flicker of guilt in his eyes. He hadn't denied knowing her father. He'd admitted it. He'd even said Thomas Hart wasn't supposed to die. That meant one thing. He knew what really happened. As she stepped into the rain-soaked street, something caught her eye. A black sedan idling across from the tower entrance. Same model as the one that brought her here. Same tinted windows. But this one wasn't leaving. Her gut twisted. She turned and walked quickly toward the subway, feeling eyes on her back. The car didn't move, but she could sense the weight of it. Watching. Waiting. By the time she reached her apartment, her hair was drenched, her hands trembling. Her mother was asleep, the oxygen machine humming softly. Lily didn't turn on the lights. She moved straight to her room, locked the door, and pulled out her phone. She searched everything. Ether Project, Hale Industries, Thomas Hart. Most of what she found had been scrubbed clean, replaced by corporate press releases. But one link buried deep in an old forum caught her eye. Ether whistleblower disappears, 2003. The post was old, anonymous. It mentioned a journalist named Ben Ortiz, who had once tried to investigate the fire, but vanished from public view after publishing a single article accusing Hale Industries of data tampering. Lily clicked the link. The article had been taken down, but she found a cached version. Her heart stopped at the headline, "Engineer Thomas Hart suspected of sabotage, evidence withheld by Hale Corporation." Scrolling down, she found a grainy image, her father at a lab bench beside the words Prototype Ether 02. And in the corner of the photo, half hidden by shadow, was something that made her skin crawl. A reflection in the lab window. Victor Hale, holding a camera. She leaned closer, zooming in until the pixels blurred. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough. Victor had been there the night of the fire. Her phone buzzed suddenly, jolting her. A message, unknown number, stop searching. Her breath caught. Another ping followed. You're next. Lily dropped the phone, her pulse roaring in her ears. The message vanished before she could take a screenshot. She turned off every light in the apartment, heart hammering, staring out through the blinds. Across the street, a black sedan was parked under a flickering lamppost, the same one from earlier. She backed away from the window, whispering to herself, "He's watching me." Then she looked down at the phone again and noticed something she hadn't seen before. Her call log showed an incoming number at the exact minute she'd left Hale Tower. The name beside it read, Ben Ortiz. The rain had stopped by dawn, but the sky still hung low and bruised. Lily barely slept. Every creak of the old apartment made her flinch. Every shadow felt like someone watching. By morning, she made a decision. If Ben Ortiz was alive, she'd find him. She followed the trail through scraps of online records and expired domains until she found an address tied to a dormant press credential. Ortiz Investigations, Lower Manhattan. The office didn't exist anymore, but an old article cross-referenced his name with a small cafe near the river. It was still there, half-boarded, smelling of burnt espresso and rain. Inside, the hum of an old radio filled the silence. A man sat alone at a corner table, unshaven, hair streaked with grey, a notebook open beside a cold cup of coffee. He looked up when she entered. "Lily Hart," he said before she even spoke. His voice was gravel. "Took you long enough." She froze. "How do you know who I am?" He gestured to the chair opposite him. "Sit down. You've stirred quite a hornet's nest, kid." Reluctantly, she sat. "You sent me a message last night. Stop searching. Was that supposed to scare me?" Ben shook his head. "That wasn't me. Whoever's watching you, they've been watching me too." He slid a folded newspaper across the table. It was yellowed, dated 20 years earlier. The headline read, "Fire at Ether Labs claims 5 lives. Investigation closed." "I wrote that story," Ben said quietly, "but it wasn't the one I wanted to publish." Lily leaned in. "You knew my father. I interviewed him 3 weeks before the fire. He was scared, but determined. Said Hale was turning Ether into something dangerous, weaponized energy. He wanted to go public, but he didn't get the chance. After the explosion, Hale's people shut everything down. Files erased. Witnesses paid off or gone." Lily's chest tightened. "My mum said he died trying to stop the fire." Ben nodded grimly. That's what the official report says. But I found evidence he survived for hours after it started. Someone went back into that building. Someone who didn't want him to walk out again. Victor Hale, she whispered. Ben didn't confirm, but his eyes said enough. He pulled a flash drive from his jacket pocket and slid it across the table. I was saving this in case I ever got brave again. It's encrypted, but inside are copies of Hale's financials, patents, internal memos. Everything they tried to bury. Lily hesitated before taking it. Why give it to me? Because they already think you have it, he said. They were following you last night, weren't they? She swallowed hard. Yes, a black sedan, 2 men. Ben cursed under his breath. Then we don't have much time. Before Lily could respond, the bell above the cafe door jingled. A man in a dark coat entered, scanning the room. His gaze landed on them. For a moment, everything went still. Friend of yours? Ben asked quietly. Lily shook her head. The man reached inside his jacket. Run, Ben said. They bolted toward the back exit, just as a gunshot shattered the front window. Glass exploded across the floor. Lily ducked behind a counter, clutching the flash drive, heart pounding. Ben grabbed her arm, dragging her through the kitchen and out into the rain-slicked alley. Keep moving, he shouted. Don't stop. They sprinted past dumpsters and puddles, the echo of footsteps behind them. Another shot rang out, striking a metal pipe inches from Lily's head. She stumbled but didn't fall. Ben pushed her toward a side street. Go to Pier 17, he said breathlessly. There's an old warehouse near the docks. I have a contact there who can decrypt the files. I'll meet you. The sound cut him off. A single deafening crack. Ben jerked forward, a dark stain spreading across his coat. He turned to her, eyes wide. Run, he whispered again before collapsing onto the wet pavement. Lily screamed his name, but there was no time. The shooter was reloading. She ran, clutching the flash drive, the city spinning in streaks of grey and blood. By the time she reached the river, dawn had broken. Cold, metallic, unfeeling. The flash drive felt heavy in her pocket. She didn't know where to go, only that Ben had died for what was inside it. And somewhere above the skyline in his glass tower, Victor Hale watched the morning news, a faint smile touching his lips. The warehouse on Pier 17 looked abandoned, its windows cracked, its roof sagging under years of salt and wind. Lily slipped inside through a broken side door, her breath ragged, the metallic taste of fear still thick in her mouth. The place smelled of rust and rain. Old machines sat under tarps like sleeping giants. She found a corner with an old workbench, wiped the dust from a computer terminal, and plugged in Ben's flash drive. The screen flickered to life, humming faintly. For a second, she thought the device was too old, but then a folder appeared. Either files. Confidential. Her hands trembled as she opened it. Inside were video clips, scanned documents, and encrypted blueprints. One file name caught her eye. Heart Record. MP4. She clicked play. Static filled the screen. Then a shaky image appeared. A cluttered lab, dimly lit. Her father sat at a desk, younger, wearing his work badge. His eyes were tired but alive. If you're seeing this, he said, his voice trembling, then something's gone wrong. Project Ether isn't what we promised it would be. Hale wants to weaponize it, to turn clean energy into controlled destruction. I can't let that happen. Lily covered her mouth, tears burning her eyes. I have copies of everything, Thomas continued. The equations, the prototypes, the financial trail. If I disappear, it's because I tried to stop him. Tell Linda, tell Lily I'm doing this for her. The screen cut to static again. When the video resumed, chaos filled the background, alarms, fire, shouting. Her father looked over his shoulder, panicked. A voice off camera shouted, "You can't walk out with that drive." It was Victor Hale's voice. The camera jolted. Smoke filled the room. There was a flash, a roar, and then the image froze, burned into a single frame of light. Lily staggered back from the monitor, shaking. Her father hadn't died in an accident. He'd been murdered. Thunder rolled outside. She wiped her face, opened another folder labeled Either Payments and scanned the files. Bank transfers, shell companies, a list of coded transactions leading straight to Hale Industries. Millions moved offshore within days of the fire. Every line was proof the world could see. But then another window appeared on the screen. Remote access detected. Her stomach dropped. Someone was inside the system. The cursor moved on its own, opening directories, deleting files. "No, no, no, stop," she whispered, yanking the flash drive out. The screen went black. A sharp sound echoed behind her. Footsteps. "Who's there?" she called out. From the shadows, a tall figure emerged, dressed in black tactical gear. She recognized him instantly. Brent Sawyer, Hale's head of security. The man from the sedan. "You shouldn't be here, Miss Hart," he said, voice low. "Mr. Hale wants what you took." Lily stepped back, gripping the flash drive like a weapon. "He killed my father. He killed Ben Ortiz." Sawyer didn't blink. "You don't understand. This isn't just about Hale. There are bigger hands behind Ether. You release those files, and you won't live long enough to regret it. Then you'd better make sure I don't." He took a step forward. She hurled a wrench toward the nearest window. Glass shattered, rain spraying in. In that split second, she ran, bolting through the side door, heart in her throat. Bullets ripped through the air behind her. She dove behind a rusted container, clutching the flash drive. The wind howled through the docks, sirens echoing in the distance. She crawled along the wet ground until she reached the edge of the pier. Water churned below. There was nowhere left to run. Sawyer's silhouette appeared in the doorway, weapon raised. "Last chance," he called. "Hand it over." Lily met his gaze, rain streaking her face. "Tell Hale he can keep his lies," she said, "but not my father's truth." And with that she jumped. Cold water swallowed her scream. The flash drive tied in her fist burned like ice. When she surfaced again, the dock was shrinking behind her. Hale Tower glowed faintly on the horizon. Her next destination. The Hudson was colder than death. Lily fought the current with what strength she had left. The flash drive still clutched tight in her fist. The city skyline blurred above her, lights bleeding into the fog, sirens echoing faintly through the rain. By the time she reached the opposite bank, her lungs burned, her body shaking from exhaustion and cold. She dragged herself onto the concrete embankment, coughing up river water, her wet hair plastered to her face. Every muscle screamed, but she forced herself to stand. The flash drive was still in her hand, its metal casing dented but intact. Her father's voice echoed in her head. "Tell Lily I'm doing this for her." "Then I'll finish it," she whispered, "for you." She stumbled through the empty streets until she found an all-night laundromat. Inside, fluorescent lights buzzed over cracked tiles and humming dryers. She locked herself in the restroom, wringing the river from her clothes. Her reflection in the mirror startled her, eyes wide and wild, skin ghost-pale. But beneath the fear was something new, resolve. Victor Hale had destroyed her father's life, silenced her mother with fear, and killed anyone who came too close to the truth. Now he thought she was dead. That mistake would cost him everything. By dawn, she had a plan. She wrapped the flash drive in a plastic bag and taped it inside the lining of her jacket. Then she found a small tech repair shop 2 blocks away. The owner, a young guy with dark circles under his eyes, looked up as she entered. "Can I help you?" he asked. "I need a laptop. Used, cheap, cash only." He eyed her soaked clothes and the tremor in her hands, but didn't ask questions. "200, he said. She paid without hesitation, grabbed the laptop and left. In a diner nearby, she plugged in the flash drive again. This time she disabled the Wi-Fi before opening it. The files were damaged, many corrupted after the remote intrusion, but one folder survived. Correspondence Hale 2003. Inside were scanned letters between Victor Hale and a government contractor named R.G. Mercer. The messages were chilling. "If Hart leaks the prototype, we lose the contract. Handle it quietly. No survivors." Lily's breath caught. Mercer, whoever he was, had ordered her father's death. Hale had obeyed. And together they'd buried the evidence under corporate charity and billion-dollar press releases. She copied everything to the laptop's hard drive and encrypted it. But if she was going to expose them, she needed reach. She needed eyes on it before they could erase her again. That's when she remembered Ben's contact, the one he'd mentioned before the shooting. A friend near the docks, someone who can decrypt the files. Maybe that person was still alive. She searched Ben's old forum posts, cross-referenced the tags, and found a name that repeated Dr. Elena Park, former research lead at Ether Labs, disappeared after the fire. Lily's pulse quickened. If anyone could verify her father's work, it was her. She tracked an old address to a derelict complex near Brooklyn's industrial line. At sunset, she reached it, a squat brick building hidden behind graffiti and rust. She knocked once. Nothing. Then again. A latch clicked. A woman's voice came through the crack. "Who sent you?" "Ben Ortiz," Lily whispered. The door opened wider. A woman in her 50s, hair streaked silver, eyes sharp despite the weariness. "Come in and close it behind you." The interior looked like a ghost of a laboratory. Wires, monitors, half-assembled devices. Dr. Elena Park studied her in silence. "You look like him," she murmured. "Thomas Hart. He believed I was dead." Lily's throat tightened. "He died trying to save Ether." Elena nodded sadly. "No, he died because he believed in it." She pointed to the flash drive. "You have the data, don't you?" Lily pulled it from her pocket. "He recorded everything. The blueprints, the proof that Hale turned Ether into a weapon." Elena hesitated, then said, "Then you don't just hold evidence. You hold the power to end him." Lily met her gaze, jaw set. "Then help me do it." For the first time, the older woman's expression softened. "All right, but once we start this, there's no turning back. Hale won't stop until he burns everything again." "Then let him try," Lily said, her voice steady. "This time the fire will be his." Outside, the city lights flickered in the fog like sparks, waiting to catch flame. Night settled heavy over Brooklyn. Inside the abandoned lab, the only light came from the blue glow of computer screens reflecting off cracked glass. The hum of generators filled the silence like a heartbeat. Dr. Elena Park's fingers moved swiftly over the keyboard, decrypting line after line of corrupted data. Lily stood beside her, still damp from the rain, every nerve wound tight. "Whoever tried to erase this," Elena murmured, "knew what they were doing. These files were buried under 6 layers of encryption, corporate-level military grade. But you can get through it, right?" Lily asked. Eleanor glanced up. "I didn't spend 20 years in hiding for nothing." She entered one last command. The monitor blinked, then filled with a wall of documents and schematics. A glowing logo appeared in the corner. Project Ether, Defense Application Division. Lily's stomach turned. "Defense? You mean weapons?" Elena nodded grimly. "Your father wanted to power cities. Hale and Mercer wanted to destroy them." They opened a video file. The footage was grainy, time-stamped the night of the fire. The camera followed a group of men carrying crates marked Ether modules through the lab. A voice off-camera, Hale's, ordered, "Seal the wing. Nobody leaves until it's contained." Then came the explosion. Fire lit the corridor. Amid the chaos, one figure stumbled through the smoke, Thomas Hart clutching a hard drive. He shouted something toward the camera before collapsing. The feed cut out. Lily pressed a trembling hand to her mouth. "He tried to save it. All of it." Elena nodded, eyes glassy. "He was one of the last good men I ever knew." Lily stared at the final frame. "We have enough to expose them. Every file, every payment, every cover-up." "Yes," Eleanor said, "but we'll need more than data. We need the world to see it. And for that, we'll need reach. Public channels Hale can't control." Lily paced the floor, thinking. Then it hit her. Reeves Tower, his gala tomorrow night. It's being broadcast live. If we breach his servers, we can stream everything in front of the cameras. Elena hesitated. "That's suicide." Lily's voice didn't waver. "He stole my father's life. I'm done hiding." Before Elena could answer, the security monitors beeped. A perimeter alert. Outside, through the cracked windows, 2 black SUVs rolled to a stop. Men in tactical gear poured out, rifles glinting under the streetlights. "He found us," Elena whispered. Lily's heart slammed against her ribs. "How?" Elena typed frantically. "I don't know. Maybe the signal from the flash drive. He's been tracking it." A loudspeaker crackled outside. "Dr. Park, Miss Hart, step out with your hands up. You have something that doesn't belong to you." Lily met Elena's gaze. "He's not getting it." Elena's jaw tightened. "Then we move now." They grabbed the laptops and data drives, slipping through a back stairwell. The echo of boots on concrete grew closer, the thud of doors breaking down. As they reached the alley, a flashbang detonated behind them, white light flooding the corridor. Lily stumbled, ears ringing, but Elena pulled her up. "Keep moving!" They sprinted into the maze of shipping containers, ducking under steel beams as bullets sparked against metal. The docks glowed with red and blue from distant police sirens. Too far to help, too late to matter. Lily spotted an old delivery truck, its engine still intact. There! They climbed inside. Eleanor hot-wired it with trembling hands. The engine coughed, then roared to life. Tires screeched as the truck tore down the pier, gunfire echoing behind them. Lily looked out the side mirror. Men chasing, headlights slicing through the fog. Her heart pounded, adrenaline and grief fusing into something fierce. Eleanor glanced at her, voice steady despite the chaos. "If we make it through tonight, promise me something." "What?" "Don't let this end with revenge, let it end with truth." Lily met her eyes, tears glistening. "I'll try." Then a bullet shattered the back window. The flash drive slipped from Lily's pocket, sliding across the floor. She lunged, grabbing it just as the truck hit a barricade and skidded sideways. The world spun. Glass exploded. The last thing Lily saw was the flash drive bouncing into the dark street before everything went black. The next evening, New York glittered under 1,000 lights. Hale Tower stood at the center of it all, a monument of glass and ego. Inside, journalists and investors filled the ballroom for the Ether Rebirth Gala, an event meant to celebrate Victor Hale's innovation for humanity. Cameras flashed, champagne flowed. Every screen in the room bore his face. Victor Hale stood at the podium, his silver hair gleaming under the chandeliers, voice smooth as oil. "Tonight," he said, "we honor progress, courage, and the relentless pursuit of a brighter future." Applause filled the air, but his eyes flickered, uneasy. For 2 days, he hadn't slept. His security team had found Elena Park's lab burned to ash, no bodies, no files. And though he'd told himself Lily Hart was dead, something inside him whispered otherwise. As the applause faded, he glanced toward the balcony. A shadow moved. His fingers tightened on the microphone. From the crowd below, a low hum rose, a glitch. The massive LED screens behind him flickered. Static crackled. Then a single line of text appeared. "Project Ether, the truth." The audience murmured. "What is this?" Hale snapped to his tech team. "Cut the feed!" But it was too late. The screens shifted to video. First came her father's face, Thomas Hart, alive in a 20-year-old recording. His voice echoed through the hall. "If you're seeing this, then I'm gone. Victor Hale is not a visionary, he's a thief. And ether is not clean energy, it's a weapon." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Reporters scrambled for their phones. Hale's face drained of color. Then another clip played. Surveillance footage from the night of the fire. Hale arguing with Hart. The flash, the explosion, the camera falling. The sound of Hale's voice shouting, "Seal the wing. Nobody leaves." People stood frozen. Cameras rolled. Every guest, every journalist, every live broadcast was streaming it worldwide. And then from the balcony above, a figure stepped into the light. Lily Hart. Her hair was damp, her face pale but fierce, her jacket torn. She held the microphone like a sword. "Good evening, Mr. Hale," she said, her voice steady through the speakers. "Surprised to see a ghost?" The crowd gasped again. Hale stumbled back, shaking his head. You're supposed to be dead?" Lily cut in. "I survived the same way my father did, by telling the truth." Security guards rushed toward her, but she raised her hand. "One more step, and the entire archive goes public. Every account, every transaction, every name." The screens changed again. Spreadsheets, payment records, encrypted emails linking Hale to government defense contracts. "This," she said, "is what ether really was. Not salvation, but control. My father tried to stop it. You killed him for it." Hale's voice broke. "You don't understand. If the world had seen what we built, they would have seen a murderer," she snapped. The crowd erupted in chaos. Reporters shouted questions. Police surged in through the doors. Hale's empire was collapsing in real time. His mask, the one he'd worn for decades, finally cracked. He looked at Lily, the daughter of the man he'd destroyed, and whispered, "I never wanted it to end like this." "It ended the night you lit that fire," she said. Officers grabbed him by the arms. Cameras flashed as he was led off stage, the screens behind him still showing his crimes. Lily stood frozen, the adrenaline finally draining from her veins. Somewhere in the back of the room, she saw Dr. Elena Park step from the shadows, alive, bruised but smiling faintly. The two women met eyes. No words, just the quiet understanding that it was over. Lily turned to the crowd, her voice softer now. "My father believed truth could save the world. Maybe it still can." The audience fell silent, and for the first time in 20 years, the name Thomas Hart was met not with shame, but with reverence. Outside, rain began to fall again, gentle, cleansing. Lily stepped into it, tilting her face upward, the city lights glowing against the mist. She whispered, "You can rest now, Dad. They finally see you." And behind her, Hale Tower flickered, its giant screen displaying a single word before going dark. Either. Redeemed. Months passed. The city had already moved on to new scandals, new headlines, but for Lily Hart, the silence after the storm was louder than the storm itself. She no longer lived in fear. The world now knew the truth. Thomas Hart was not a saboteur, but a man who gave his life to protect humanity from greed. Victor Hale's empire had crumbled. His trial became the symbol of a generation's awakening. But for Lily, justice wasn't found in his downfall. It was found in what came after. She rebuilt her life piece by piece. With Dr. Elena Park's help, she founded the Hart Initiative, a non-profit dedicated to ethical energy research, the very dream her father once had. The first project they unveiled was small but symbolic, a prototype of ether, restored to its original purpose, clean, free, for everyone. On the day of the launch, sunlight streamed through the glass ceiling of the new lab. Reporters gathered, cameras flashing. Lily stood before a bronze plaque that read, "For Thomas Hart, who proved that truth is never truly lost, only waiting to be found." She smiled, her reflection blending with her father's image etched into the metal. For a moment she swore she could feel his presence, calm, proud, at peace. Dr. Park placed a hand on her shoulder. "He'd be proud of you, Lily." Lily nodded softly. "No," she said, "he'd be proud of us, because we finally did what he started." Outside, the world moved on. But somewhere in the hush between wind and light, Lily heard her father's voice again. That same gentle promise from long ago. "When you see the sun rise after the storm, that will be me. Finally, home." She closed her eyes and whispered, "Welcome home, Dad." The camera pulled back, the city gleaming, the lab alive with hope, as the light of dawn washed over everything that once was broken. The fire was gone. Only truth remained. Thank you for staying with us until the end of this heart-touching story. Tell us in the comments which part moved you the most. Subscribe and turn on the bell to receive more stories that inspire and transform. Leave a like if you believe in the invisible strength of dignity and family. And above all, thank you for being part of this community that believes in stories with soul. And before you go, watch the story I leave here on the left. I'm sure it will also move you and make you reflect.